Running fashionably late, as usual. I will be with you in 1 minute. All right, I hope everybody had a great weekend. We're back today with introduction to the functional programming minus the two. Functional programming is an approach to software development based around the evaluation of functions. Like mathematics, functions and programming map input to output to produce a result. You can combine basic functions in many ways to build more and more complex programs. Functional programming follows a few core principles. Functions are independent from the state of the program or global variables. They only depend on the arguments passed into them to make a calculation. Functions try to limit any changes to the state of the program and avoid changes to the global objects holding data. Functions have minimal side effects in the program. The functional programming software development approach breaks a program into small testable parts. This section covers basic functional programming principles in JavaScript. Alright, sorry about that. I'm gonna blow my nose. Alright, learn about functional programming. Functional programming is a style of programming where solutions are simple, isolated functions without any side effects outside of the function scope. You input something, it processes it, and then it outputs something. Functional programming is about isolated functions. There is no dependence on the state of the program, which includes global variables that are subject to change, and pure functions. Same input always gives the same output, and functions with limited side effects. Any changes or mutations to the state of the program outside of the function are carefully controlled. The members of FreeCodeCamp happen to love tea. The code editor, the prepare T and get T functions are already defined for you. Call the get T function to get 40 cups of tea for the team and store them in the T for team FCC variable. I don't understand how this thing makes... Oh, right here. There we go. Getting notifications. Thought I had my volume down. In the code editor, the prepare T and get T functions are already defined for you. Call the get T function to get 40 cups of tea for the team and store them in the T for team FCC variable. So right now, T for team FCC is null. We're going to where it wants us to use the get T function. So we're gonna get T, and we want 40 cups. I see that's used right here. Prepare T, just returns green tea. So we get 40 green teas. Cool. Understand functional programming terminology. The FCC team had a mood swing and now wants two types of tea, green tea and black tea. General fact, client mood swings are pretty common. True. With that information, we'll need to revisit the get T function from the last challenge to handle various T requests. We can modify get T to accept a function as a parameter to be able to change the type of tea it prepares. This makes get T more flexible and gives the programmer more control when the client requests change. What's up, crazy gamer girl 970? How's it going? First, let's cover some functional terminology. Callbacks are the functions that are slipped or passed into another function to decide the invocation of that function. Callbacks are the functions that are slipped or passed into another function to decide the invocation of that function. You may have seen them pass to other methods, for example in filter. Callback function tells JavaScript the criteria for how to filter an array. Good, just doing some computer science homework. Just started my GCSE course for it. How are you? I'm doing pretty good for it being a Monday, and I stayed up real late. We made it. We're here. So, can't complain. Functions that can be assigned to a variable, passed into another function, or returned from another function, just like any other normal value, are called first-class functions. In JavaScript, all functions are first-class functions. Functions that take a function as an argument or return a function as a return value are called higher-order functions. When the functions are passed into another function or returned from another function, then those functions which get passed in or returned can be called a lambda. That's a new word for me. Prepare 27 cups of green tea and 13 cups of black tea and store them in Tea for Green Team FCC. And T for Black Team FCC variables, respectively. Note that the getT function has been modified, so it now takes a function as the first argument. Note the data, the number of cups of tea, is supplied as the last argument. We'll discuss this more in later lessons. So we have our two constants, prepare green tea, which returns green tea, and prepare black tea, which returns black tea. I have been programming for over 18 years. Started, I don't know what year it is now. I started teaching myself in high school. Oh, what were we doing? Okay, get tea, prepare tea. We need, this is for green tea, so we need prepare green tea. We need 27 cups. And then for this one, it's 13 cups. Make sure 27 cups of green tea, 13 cups of black tea. Everything should be good. Prepare tea is not a function. Wow, like I said, I'm doing GCSE computer science, and we do quite a bit of programming in that. I believe we have a programming project sometime as part of the course. It's pretty sweet. What does GCSE stand for? I'm a noob, so totally self-taught, not really college educated. I love programming. All right, so prepare tea is not a function. Oh, I see. So we pass in the function like blueprint or whatever. Basically, I messed up because I put the parentheses. So we called this right away. So when we get here, it's not right. So we need to just do this. GCSE is a major exam in the UK. You start studying for it in year 9 when you're 13, and take the exam when you're in year 10 or 11. Depends on the school and subject, BRB. Cool. Cool. Understand the hazard of using imperative code. Functional programming is a good habit. It's a habit I need to build. It keeps your code easy to manage and saves you from sneaky bugs. But before we get there, let's look at an imperative approach to programming to highlight where you may have issues. In English and many other languages, the imperative tense is used to give commands. Similarly, an imperative style in programming is one that gives the computer a set of statements to perform a task. Often the statements change the state of the program, like updating global variables. A classic example is writing a for loop gives exact directions to iterate over the indices of an array. Welcome back. Do you know what kind of language you'll be using for your project? Just getting some G Fuel. Been drinking some Squirt and it's me some nasty dry mouth. Don't know yet. I believe it's sometime later on in the year. Do you have any experience programming? Often the statements change the state of the programming. I think I read this. In contrast, functional programming is a form of declarative programming. You tell the computer what you want done by calling a method or function. JavaScript offers many predefined methods that handle common tasks, so you don't need to write out how the computer should perform them. For example, instead of using the for loop mentioned above, you could call the map method, which handles the details of iterating over an array. This helps to avoid semantic errors, like the off by one errors that were covered in the debugging section. Consider the scenario. You are browsing the web in your browser and want to track the tabs you have open. Let's try to model this using some simple object-oriented code. A window object is made up of tabs, and you usually have more than one window open. The titles of each open site in each window object is held in an array. After working in the browser, opening new tabs, merging windows, and closing tabs, you want to print the tabs that are still open. Closed tabs are removed from the array, and new tabs, for simplicity, get added to the end of it. The code editor shows an implementation of this functionality with functions for tab open, tab close, and join. Array tabs is part of the window object that stores the name of the open pages. quite a lot of HTML and a bit of Python. That's a good start. I guess that's where I got started was HTML and CSS. And then I taught myself PHP because that was the huge thing at the time. I taught myself that for my first job interview while I was still in high school. Didn't get that job, but got a job after I finished high school for a small startup. So that was pretty cool. Fun fact, that's partially why I didn't go to college, is because one, I don't want to, and two, I was offered money to go work, so I took that. Alright, instructions. Run the code in the editor. It's using a method that has side effects in the program, causing incorrect output. The final list of open tabs should be Facebook, Gitter, Reddit, Twitter, Medium, New Tab, Netflix, YouTube, all those things, but the output will be slightly different. Work through the code and see if you can figure out the problem, then advance to the next challenge to learn more. Let's see here. We want to kind of give ourselves some room over here. Planning to go to university for computer science. Hopefully Oxford if I can get in. That's pretty awesome. I've been thinking about actually going to college, but I don't know that I will. I would go for something like law or general business stuff. Alright, so we have tabs is an array of titles of each site open within the window. So we have a variable window. It's a function that accepts tabs, and it sets windows.tabs equal to whatever we pass it. And then we have some prototypes. When you join two windows into one. So this takes another window and it just makes it so this .tabs is equal to this .tabs after we concatenate the other Windows tabs to it. When you open a new tab at the end, so we have another prototype tab open. This accepts a tab, and this tabs.push, which adds a new tab to the tabs. When you close a tab, another prototype accepts an index. That's weird. Johnson McBig looks fun. Hello. Yes, it's the funnest. When you close a tab, let's see here. So we get the tabs before index. So we're so this just takes pass an index, which is the tab that we're closing. And so it makes this array of tabs. It's going to splice it up to the index, and then everything after the index, and take those things and put them together. That's the new tabs. How are you doing today, Johnson McBig? Let's create 3 browser windows. So we have work window, which is a new window with the following tabs. We have a social window, which is a new window with a bunch of social stuff. We have our video window, which is a new window with a bunch of video entertainment sites. Now perform the tab opening, closing, and other operations. I have to take my computer science exam next year. I'm already nervous because I want to be a game dev. You want to be a game dev? That's what I wanted to be when I was younger. Sure, you can get there though. For fun, you should check out Unity sometime. They have the free version, and you can get by with minimal code, especially if you have what is it called? I don't remember what it's called. Let's see here. Playmaker. Yeah, so Playmaker just lets you like have a drag and drop, like you make these state machines through a interface. So the code's very minimal. It's more of a visual setup, but you can do just about anything with it. Pretty cool. Free Code Camp gets a lot of praise, but I honestly think that it's the equivalent of taking raw HTML, CSS, and JavaScript documentation and spending more than necessary on each written word. I would disagree. I mean, it is that, but you know, that's needed. I'm not sure if you've read all of the HTML and CSS and JavaScript documentation, but it's a dry AF. I know when I first started, when I looked at that stuff, it made my eyes cross. I think I love 2D is the best way to enter into 2D game development. I'm not sure what that is. Yeah, it does feel like they take too long to explain a subject, but that's what beginners need. It seems too long to you because you seem to know your stuff, I am guessing. But I would agree there's things like that they go over multiple times, but that's what new people need. See, I'm just so nervous though, since I take 4 of my exams next year, 2 of which are what I really need to get high scores in. Me too, bud. Me too. Yeah, I mean, it's a good reason to be nervous. I'd probably be nervous too. You want to do well. Just don't wear yourself too thin. I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned programming and doing like educational or anything is to take breaks and let my brain rest. All right. So now perform the tab opening, closing, and other operations. The final tabs, social window, we tab open. Cat memes, we join, close third tab window. Final tabs. Why did it have to use an alert? All right. That's better. I don't know why they don't have that in the first place. Should be Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, Medium, new tab, Netflix, YouTube. So we're missing something here. Vine. Then we have Gmail, Workmail, Docs, Free Code Camp, and new tabs. So we're just missing Vine. We got to get Vine in here. Yeah, you'll be fine. English, math, and science, I don't mind too much as I take those in year 11. I hated math. I hated everything. I wish I didn't. I wish I cared more when I was younger. Get older and time starts flying. So we should just have to close these extra tabs, I think. Oh no. It's not even joining in. That's the first step. That's a very good way to go about it. When I was in high school, I did the very bare minimum. Because like Johnson McBig, I was lazy. I'd do more work. I'd do more work calculating my grade average and like the minimum I'd have to do than actually doing the work that I should have been doing. I passed though. I always passed. I mean, that was the goal of figuring out the grade average. Figure out what projects I could do just to barely get by. Horrible habit. All right, so we're joining here. So it seems like so we have social window, which is our FB, Getter, Reddit, Twitter, Medium, followed by our new tab. So it works up until here. And then this line right here is not working. This one does. So if we take this out, right, so now this works. The video window works. Just not... Oh, did I close the wrong one? Netflix, YouTube, Vine, Gmail. Vimeo's missing. And Vine should still be here. Okay. So it took out both of these when it should have taken out. So tab close is the problem. We passed in 2. Tab C4 index, this tab splice 0 to index. The ones before are fine. It's the ones after. This tab splice index. What are you actually programming? So Free Code Camp here is just it's a way to teach yourself how to program. So I'm going through it. It's kind of a refresher. Things how I learned 18 years ago. JavaScript has gotten real big. I do know JavaScript, but say my habits are more towards how we used to write it, and using ES6 and some of the newer ways that are a lot better. So I'm going through Free Code Camp here to get some certifications. So they have a curriculum. I've already done the responsive web design certification here. So we went through all of these sections. And right now we're working on JavaScript algorithms and data structures certification. So we're on functional programming. We got a bit to go in that. Intermediate algorithm scripting. And then we'll get to some projects soon. And then we'll be finished with this, and I'll move on to the front-end libraries. So I'm just kind of, I don't know, it's content. I remember what it's like being new, and having videos and stuff like this help me out. Yeah, you should. I'd recommend it. I've learned a few things, so. Alright, so this isn't working. Creating craziness! How's it going? How are you doing today? So this should do it. The issue was the index here being wrong. So, let's see our tabs after index. Look at our social right here. So Splice. Let's look up Splice. Not the movie. A good movie though. So let's see here. Tab close 2. What? Let's see here. Count is optional, an integer indicating the number of old array elements to remove. If delete count is omitted, or if its value is larger than array.length minus the start. That is, if it is greater than the number of elements left in the array. Alright, so this isn't specified. So it's gonna delete. When we say a tab close 2, it's gonna go through here and it's gonna splice at the second index with a 0, 1, 2, and it's gonna delete everything. What? I'm doing good. How about you? I'm doing great. Coding's hard. All right. Let's go to the next lesson so they can explain it. Alert is... Oh. Yep. Alright. Avoid mutations and side effects using functional programming. If you haven't already figured it out, the issue in the previous challenge was with the splice call in the tab close function. Yeah, we figured that out. Unfortunately, splice changes the original array it is called on, so the second call to it used a modified array and gave unexpected results. This is a small example of a much larger pattern. You call a function on a variable, array, or an object, and the function changes the variable or something in the object. One of the core principles of functional programming is to not change things. Change leads to bugs. It's easier to prevent bugs knowing that your functions don't change anything, including the function arguments or any global variable. The previous example didn't have any complicated operations, but the splice method changed the original array and resulted in a bug. Recall that in functional programming, changing or altering things is called mutation, and the outcome is called a side effect. A function ideally should be a pure function, meaning that it does not cause any side effects. Let's try to master this discipline and not alter any variable or object in our code. Fill in the code for the function incrementer so it returns the value of the global variable fixed value. Yeah. Alright, your function incrementer should not change the value of fixed value. Your incrementer function should return a value that is one larger than the fixed value. So we want to return fixed value plus 1. Right? It doesn't change fixed value. It just returns that plus 1. Awesome. Pass arguments to avoid external dependence in a function. The last challenge was a step closer to functional programming principles, but there is still something missing. You didn't alter the global variable value, but the function incrementer would not work without the global variable fixed value being there. Another principle of functional programming is to always declare your dependencies explicitly. This means if a function depends on a variable or object being present, then pass that variable or object directly into the function as an argument. There are several good consequences from this principle. The function is easier to test, you know exactly what input it takes, and it won't depend on anything else in your program. This can give you more confidence when you alter, remove, or add new code. You would know what you can or cannot change, and you can see where the potential traps are. Finally, the function would always produce the same output for the same set of inputs, no matter what part of the code executes it. So what are you doing today, creating craziness? Got any streams going on today? Crazy Gamer Girl, thank you so much for the follow. So kind of you. All right. Let's update the incrementer function to clearly declare its dependencies. Write the incrementer function so it takes an argument and then increases the value by 1. So we pass in the value, and we're just doing the same as last time. It's just being passed. So var new value equals incrementer fixed value. That should equal 5, and it should print 4. I really do appreciate it. It's great you being here and following and chatting. It's always much easier when I have some chatters to talk to. We're real close to getting affiliate with Twitch, so I'm pumped. I'm not pumped about this music though. It's too intense for me right now. All right, refactor global variables out of functions. So far, we have seen 2 distinct principles for functional programming. 1, don't alter a variable or object. Create a new variables and objects and return them if need be from a function. Declare function arguments. Any computation inside a function depends only on the arguments and not on any global object or variable. Adding 1 to a number is not very exciting, but we can apply these principles when working with arrays or more complex objects. Refactor the code so the global array book list is not changed inside either function. Then the add function should add the given book name to the end of an array. The remove function should remove the given book name from an array. Both functions should return an array, and any new parameters should be added before the book name 1. Later. Hope you have a good day, crazy gamer girl. This function should add a book to the list and return the list. New parameters should come before the book name 1. Add your code below this line and add your code above this line. So the first thing we notice is we have book list here. It's depending on a variable. Instead, we want to pass it. So we'll say book list here. So now just push. Okay, push here. This changes the array. So I think we can return an empty array and just put this book list in there using ES6's destructuring. That's no, is it? What is this called? It's the spread operator, I think. Yes. All right. So this is returning a new array, and we're just copying the existing book list in it. This function should remove a book from the list and return the list. New parameters should come before the book name one. So again, we need to pass the book list. And we're gonna just do the same thing. We're gonna make a new array. We're gonna copy the book list to it, and then we're gonna splice. I think that's everything. I think that should do it. Booklist.indexOf is not a function. Booklist.indexOf is not an array. There is not a function. So I'm wondering if making it an array before fix it. so we've passed the first part. Now there's something wrong. Let's see here. New book list should equal. So we're adding, we have the book list, brief history of time. Oh, splice. No, that doesn't matter, right? Let's see here, let's look at splice. Splice wrong. Let's see here. All right, so we have book list, new, we're splicing it, starting at the 0 index. We're deleting one item. Splice not the right thing here, because it doesn't seem like it is. So we're starting at 0, we're deleting so this will take our book list and put it at the beginning, right? Let's see here. Yeah, this isn't right at all. Should remove the given book name. So splice is not what we want here. Well, maybe it is. The index, though, is going to be 5. This is push return. Returns the new length of the array. Okay. Alright, I gotcha. Let's see what we're doing wrong. So this is returning 5 because that's what push does. Let new list equal all right. Alright. So that part should be better. Maddie plays. Is this what I think it is? JavaScript? Yes, it is JavaScript. We're working on some JavaScript stuff. Learning about functional programming. Maddie plays is followed. Thank you so much, sir. All right. So our new book list is good. The newer book list we're working on now, which removes. All right. So we want to, let's look at newer book list. So this is returning the thing that we've spliced. We don't want to do that. So first, let's look at the, we need the index of, we need this. So call this book name index. What? Okay. Should be happier if we went out here. How are you doing today, Maddie Plays? Do you like JavaScript? So this is basically, we're looking to see if the book name's in here. If it is, then we need to splice it. That seems to be right. And then it's using both of them. And it should work. Yes, I love it. Good. How long have you been loving JavaScript? You don't know? It's been that long? You developed then, I take it? Do you know any other languages? Or are you just learning? Tell me about yourself. Or don't, you don't have to. .NET, huh? Visual Studio. It's cool. Let's see here. I know Visual Basic, a bit, HTML5, a teensy bit of Python 2 and 3. Visual Basic, Alright. I haven't done a lot with Python lately. I learned it a long time ago. I mean, it's pretty similar to other things. It's getting bigger these days. I come from, well, I first taught myself HTML, and then CSS, and then PHP and MySQL. Those are probably my base languages. I know JavaScript as well. I'm not the best at JavaScript. I'm trying to get a little better at it. Alright, use the map method to extract data from an array. So far, we have learned to use pure functions to avoid side effects in a program. Also, we have seen the value in having a function only depend on its input arguments. This is only the beginning. As its name suggests, functional programming is centered around a theory of functions. It would make sense to be able to pass them as arguments to other functions and return a function from another function. Functions are considered first-class objects in JavaScript, which means they can be used like any other object. They can be saved in variables, stored in an object, or passed as a function argument. Let's start with some simple array functions, which are methods on the array object prototype. In this exercise, we are looking at array prototype map, or more simply map. Remember that the map method is a way to iterate over each item in an array. It creates a new array without changing the original one after applying a callback function to every element. Watchlist array holds objects with information on several movies. Use map to pull the title and rating from watchlist and save the new array in the rating variable. The code in the editor currently uses a for loop to do this. Replace loop functionality with your map expression. So we have our watch list. A lot of info in it. So, things over. Then we have our var rating is an empty array using in a loop. Over the watch list length, we're going to push things into rating. So we just want, let's see here, we want the title and the watch list. So this here, instead of being an empty array because map returns it, we're just gonna go with watch list dot map. And if we do it the E6 way here, see here, what are these? They're movies, so we'll call this a movie. I think we can sort of copy this. Instead of looking it up like this, we're going to look it up. Like so. What? Okay, we're getting some errors. I'm just trying to change up the syntax here. One of these here. This would go right here. There we go. So what are you up to today, Maddie Plays? Let's look over map. Coding JavaScript. What are you coding today? Anything specific or? Object. Huh. Most of the functions are array-based. Something like jQuery, but most of the functions are array-based. I see. Like array utility helper kind of thing? Object. What am I doing wrong? So I got everything except the output is not right. Okay. So I can't use dot notation. That works. Oh. Bracket notation works. So confused. It's just supposed to be an array of objects. Oh, it passed. Ha! Okay. I was expecting the output to actually work. Alright. So, can I back this up then? Thinking there's something wrong and there's not. That's funny. Yeah, we should be able to do that. Which is a little nicer looking. Alright. Cool. Implement map on a prototype. As you have seen from applying array prototype map or simply map earlier, the map method returns an array of the same length as the one it was called on. It also doesn't alter the original array as long as its callback function doesn't. In other words, map is a pure function, and its output depends solely on its inputs. Plus, it takes another function as its argument. It would teach us a lot about map to try to implement a version of it that behaves exactly like the array prototype map, with a for loop or array prototype for each. A pure function is allowed to alter local variables defined within its scope, although it's preferable to avoid that as well. Write your own array prototype my map, which should behave exactly like array prototype map. You may use a for loop or the for each method. All right, so it sets up the prototype for us already. That's nice. It's just a function. Callback. All right. We have S, my map. I want to see what's the callback right now. So how do we get... How do we get this array? Oh, it's a global array. But we don't want to do that. We don't... How do we get what the callback was passed? So we have our global array S has this. We have our prototype here. And then we have our new S, which just takes and uses the MyMap function, passing in the callback. What? Look at that. Okay. So we use this keyword within this, and that gives us the thing that we're working on. Okay, it is an array. All right, so we can say for each. We'll use the for each method. This accepts callback. So for each thing, for each element, we're going to return the callback on the element. Yeah? Yeah? Now let's just see what our new array is holding. 46, 130, 196, and 10. That's exactly what we want. So that should do it. So that's pretty simple. Now that I understand it, so the global array, we have our global array of all these numbers. The prototype extends the array method. So when we're inside of here, we have access to this keyword, which is the current array we're using that on. So s.myMap, this becomes s, because that is the array that we're using the function on. So we have our new array. They set that up for us. So we simply, for every element, for each element on this array here, we're gonna push a new element into the new array, but first we want to call our callback on it. So whatever we've passed. So that allows us, we can change it. We could do ×4 here, or 5. So that's it's real handy. Real handy. Use the filter method to extract data from an array. Another useful array function is array prototype filter, or simply filter. The filter method returns a new array which is at most as long as the original array, but usually has fewer items. Filter doesn't alter the original array, just like map. It takes a callback function that applies the logic inside the callback on each element of the array. If an element returns true based on the criteria in the callback function, then it is included in the new array. Variable watchlist holds an array of objects with information on several movies. Use a combination of filter and map to return a new array of objects with only title and rating keys, but where IMDb rating is greater than or equal to 8.0. Note that the rating values are saved as strings in the object, and you may want to convert them into numbers to perform mathematical operations on them. Okay. So our filtered list should be well, let's see here. What is this? Watch list again. So first we want to filter, right? Now, actually, you got to do it in the reverse, I think. So first we're going to use a map. But we only want to map things that have been filtered. Oh, that works. Here. I think this works. Yeah. All right. So we have watch list. We're gonna filter it. That means we get a movie, and only going to return, let's see here, JavaScript, convert to, string to number. Ah, yes, parse int. Parse float. Okay. And we want to look at the parse float. We're going to pass in the movie title. No. IMDb rating. That's it. Rating. So that should give us the float. And we're only returning if this number returned is greater than 8.0. Should just be able to say 8. Let's we did this in the wrong spot. So we need to parse the float. And then we need to return if it's greater than 8. Alright, so that's better. Now we're gonna map. And we still have our movies here. And let's see here, we'll end this. I believe we want to do title and rating. So this should be movie title. That gives us 4 movies. And here 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like we have all of the movies that we're looking for. So our filtered list, we take the watch list, we filter it. And in the watch list, it's just a list of objects of movies. So this right here, our filter, this is saying we're gonna pass in this object for each one, give us the movie, one of them. They're called a movie. So then here we're parsing the float of the movie the movie's IMDb rating. So we're taking this number here, we're converting it to a float so that we can perform our greater than operation. So this will filter and only return movies that have an IMDb rating greater than 8. Which makes sense when you read it all there. Now that we have all those, we're going to map over just those movies, and we want to reduce it down so that we're returned with filtered list that is just the title and ratings, which it says objects right here, but that's it's correct. So if I run this, we're good. Implement the filter method on a prototype. It would teach us a lot about the filter method if we try to implement a version of it that behaves exactly like array prototype filter. You can use either a for or a for each loop. A pure function is allowed to alter local variables you find within its scope, although it's preferable to avoid those as well. Write your own array prototype myFilter, which should behave exactly like array prototype filter. You may use a for loop or the array prototype for each. All right, so this for each, for each element, we're gonna do the thing. We get past the element. We're gonna wanna pass the element to the callback. And then we need to add this to the new array if this returns true. So if new array dot push the element. So I think that's it. So for each item in this array that is being passed, we're using this on, for each of them, we're going to iterate over the elements. So we give for each element, if the callback on that element returns true, then we're going to push the element. And then at the end, we get our new array. Nice. Return part of an array using the slice method. The slice method returns a copy of certain elements of an array. It can take 2 arguments. The first gives the index of where to begin the slice. The second is the index for where to end the slice, and it's non-inclusive. If the arguments are not provided, the default is to start at the beginning of the array through the end, which is an easy way to make a copy of the entire array. The slice method does not mutate the original array, but returns a new one. Here's an example. So we have our array, cat, dog, tiger, zebra, slice. This sets a new array to dog and tiger. Slice method in the slice array function to return part of the anim array. given the provided begin slice and end slice indices. Function should return an array. So we're gonna make a clone of our array there. And then I believe we're just doing slice. Begin slice and slice. So I think that's it. Return, we clone the animal array to a new array, and then we slice it. Move elements from an array using slice instead of splice. Common pattern while working with arrays is when you want to remove items and keep the rest of the array, JavaScript offers the splice method for this, which takes arguments for the index of where to start removing items and then the number of items to remove. The second argument is not provided. The default is to remove items through the end. However, the splice method mutates the original array it's called on. Here's an example. As we saw in the last challenge, the slice method does not mutate the original array, but returns a new one which can be saved into a variable. Recall that slice method takes two arguments for the indices to begin and end the slice. Return those items in a new array. Using the slice method instead of splice helps to avoid any array mutating side effects. Write the function non-mutating splice by using slice instead of splice. It should limit the provided cities array to a length of 3 and return a new array with only the first 3 items. Do not mutate the original array provided to the function. Use a console log here just to make sure our syntax is correct. Update it. Combine two arrays using the concat method. Concatenation means to join items end to end. JavaScript offers the concat method for both strings and arrays that work in the same way. For arrays, the method is called on1. Then another array is provided as the argument to concat, which is added to the end of the first array. It returns a new array and does not mutate either of the original arrays. Here's an example. 1, 2, 3 concat 4, 5, 6 returns a new array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Use the concat method in the non-mutating concat function to concatenate attached to the end of the original. Function should return the concatenated array. So we have original dot concat and attach. Add elements to the end of an array using concat instead of push. Functional programming is all about creating and using non-mutating functions. The last challenge introduced the concat method as a way to combine arrays into a new one without mutating the original arrays. Compare concat to the push method. Push adds an item to the end of the same array it's called on, which mutates that array. Here's an example. Concat offers a way to add new items to the end of an array without any mutating side effects. Change the non-mutating push function so it uses concat to add a new item to the end of the original instead of push. Function should return an array. Really, I think trying to phone home, not using stuff that modifies stuff. Functional programming. Use the reduce method to analyze data. Reduce is the most general of all array operators in JavaScript. You can solve almost any array processing problem using the reduce method. This is not the case with the filter and map methods since they do not allow interaction between two different elements of the array. For example, if you want to compare elements of the array or add them together, filter or map could not process that. The reduce method allows for more general forms of array processing, and it's possible to show that both filter and map can be derived as a special application of reduce. However, before we get there, let's practice using reduce first. Variable watchlist holds an array of objects with information on several movies. Use reduce to find the average IMDb rating of the movies directed by Christopher Nolan. Recall from prior challenges how to filter data and map over it to pull what you need. You may need to create other variables, but save the final average into the variable average rating. Note that the rating values are saved as strings and the objects need to be converted into numbers before they are used in any mathematical operations. All right, let's look up reduce here. Reduce method executes a reducer function that you provide on each member of the array, resulting in a single output. So if we have an array 1, 2, 3, 4 and a reducer accepts the accumulator and the current value. So if we pass array 1, we reduce, and this just says Adam. So it takes multiple. Or this is the source array. Okay. So again, we're gonna do watch list reduce. Well, not really again. So this is gonna take a movie. So let's just pass a reducer here. Let's do it like they do here. We'll say const reducer equals accumulator and current value. So this is actually a function. Oh, video game music. Stop it. Let's see here. I will be right back. I have to go to the bathroom. All right, we're back. What's up? KAEM4. Not sure how to pronounce your name. Right now, we're going through a free code camp curriculum. We're trying to use Reduce to find the average IMDb rating. Using functional programming in Reduce. How are you doing tonight? All right, so the first step is that we need to add up all of the IMDb scores. So what we need to do, our accumulator, okay, so we need to return our accumulator. Will be 0 as it starts, but then we need to pass in the current value. We need the IMDb rating. And we need to parse it to a float. Oops. Before we do any math operations on it. So right now... You're not getting any output. Let's try an alert. Let's copy all our code here and try to run the tests to see what happens. Accumulator is not defined. That makes sense. Again. So let's see, console.log. Oh, we have it spelled two different ways. No wonder. Let's see here, how is it spelled? Copy this with an O. All right. Get rid of this alert. I'm guessing this second one is 9. Let's see here, we have 8.8. 8.6. 9.0. All right, so what? Uh, so why isn't it giving us the first one? So where's Inception? Ah. Ah, you're right. You're right. I missed that part. Use reduce to find the average IMDb rating of all the movies directed by Christopher Nolan. You're right. Thank you so much. So we'll do a filter on here. And this just returns, let's see here, we'll have the movie and returning we want the movie director is equal to Christopher Nolan. Make sure we get this spelled right. .94. Well, we seem to have filtered it. Oh, we need to. No wonder. Okay, duh. So let's see here. Watch list app filter. So let's do this. Their filtered movies equals so now we can do filtered movies. And then we can do filtered movies dot length. There we go. So the issue was that we weren't dividing by the filtered number of filtered movies, which was 4. We were doing all of them, which is 5. Just threw off the calculations. We're gonna go ahead and get a hint though. Let's see how they do it. Yes, let's. So ours isn't too bad or too far off. Salt and Petty. How you doing, man? Ours wasn't too far off, but we instead of using a map, we just our reducer just looked into the object instead of mapping and getting just the ratings. So it's kind of like a step less, so that's fine. Alright, sort an array alphabetically using the sort method. Sort method sorts the elements of an array according to the callback function. We have a function ascending order. Pass it an array. It returns, and it returns the array sorted. We pass in a callback A and B, which just takes the elements one by one, and it returns A minus B. So if we pass this into it, it will sort it in ascending order. Reverse alpha. If we so this takes it and sorts it by reverse alphabetical. No, it's encouraged to provide a callback function to specify how to sort the array of items. JavaScript's default sorting method is by string Unicode point value, which may return unexpected results. Use the sort method in the alphabetical order function to sort the elements of the array in alphabetical order. Ah, see, they tricked us. They use this example here. So we're gonna use something like this. So we're actually just gonna copy and paste it. And if you haven't figured it out, we're just gonna swap this. So that literally will go through and do comparison. First A and D. Is A greater than D? In this case, it is. You have to think of it as A is the very top. Has a high value. I don't know. It'd be like A starting at what, 26? Z starts at 1. So yeah, just by swapping that. Oh. Well, let's look what we're getting. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Does that not work? ADCAZG. Or do I swap the letters? Does this just not work? What the? What? What? This looks hard as fuck. Well, it shouldn't be that hard. I mean, it's, yes, relatively hard. But this example that they give here as a working example is not working itself. So all it's supposed to do is take this and return it alphabetized. We have a reversed example here that I've literally copy and pasted. Let's do this. What? All right. This is where we get a hint. Oh. There are no hints. This is where we go to the forum to see if there's some sort of bug going on. What lesson is this? Sort an array alphabetically. Yeah, that's what we had. Let's see here. And then I came in here and I was all snarky about, oh, we just have to flip it around, it'll work. And it didn't work. What are you doing to me? What? Am I not returning something? I'm returning something. Fuck. No, to this entire album. Why doesn't it remember my thumbs down? Yeah. Yeah, that's not gonna work. I don't think. I think there's something like wrong. Like maybe I need to do this in a different browser. Because it's not doing the sort at all. Like even the example they gave me doesn't work, which is what I pasted in here. right here, the reverse alpha. And we don't need this because it's the same either way. So we can just return this. So this sort here, same exact function. I can even make it say the same stuff, even though the syntax doesn't matter. It was the same, just different. If we cancel out the value, it's doing absolutely nothing to the array. So and all of the forum type stuff that I see is not the same issue I'm having here. So just give me a second. No. We're gonna open up Firefox. We're gonna free code. No. No, 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 no. No. We're already signed in over here, so we're good. Let's open this up over here in Firefox. Let's copy this code. See, now it does something. See, so it's something with this. Something's not right here. All right. All right, so we were right. We just have to swap it. We just wasted a bunch of time because the browsers suck. All right. We can close out of here for now. Hopefully for good. Are you doing this for fun, or is it like a school thing? I am doing it for fun. So I'm a freelance developer. I do work through a thing called Upwork. So I started streaming to play games, but also to start getting like myself out there more for my freelance stuff for work. So it's kind of like a work thing. That's just me going through the stuff, getting the certifications so I can put them on like my CV. And then yeah, also to teach people. Coding is a very frustrating thing to do. As you can see, little things can, just because I imagine if I was on like the stable version of Chrome, it would have been fine, but I'm on like, it's called Chrome Canary, which is the latest. So sometimes things break. But yeah, we figured it out. So it's just cool to get stuff like that on video, because I don't know, a lot of developer resources out there. It's all like, oh, you just do this and that, and it's all good. And 90% of the time when you're following around a tutorial or following with a tutorial, like, you'll go step by step and then there will be some error that they don't mention. Something's wrong. You don't ever see that. Sometimes you do these days, but so yeah, this is, I don't know, it's fun. For fun and work. All right, let's get back to functional programming. Got that one passed. That's good. Okay, so now we need to return a sorted array without changing the original array. Side effect of the sort method is that it changes the order of the elements in the original array. In other words, it mutates the array in place. One way to avoid this is to first concatenate an empty array to one being sorted. Remember that concat returns a new array. Then run the sort method. Use the sort method in the non-mutating sort function to sort the elements of an array in ascending order. Function should return a new array and not mutate the global array. All right, we might have the same issue with this one. But we'll just write the code in here first. We're actually going to copy the code from last example. Okay, so yeah, it wants us to set up a new array so that our original array, our global array here is not modified. So what we're going to do is we're going to use ES6 spreader operator here. And what this basically says is we're making a clone of the array that we've been passed before we do anything on it. Because sort modifies the original array, we want to modify a clone. So this is a little short. Clone syntax. We're gonna run this. It probably won't pass because it should use the concat. Oh, okay. So we are not allowed to use this. So what it wants us to do is, this is kind of another shorthand method, but a little longer. We have our empty array here. We're using concat to pass the array. So what we're end up working on is the new array that's been created from this, and not the original array. So are you a professional programmer in JavaScript? JavaScript, I do a lot of JavaScript. I make a lot of websites, like WordPress websites, Laravel websites. So I use JavaScript a lot for front end stuff. But I'm not like, I'm better at PHP, I would say. But I do get paid for some JavaScript work, yeah. Another reason I'm doing this stuff is to like do a refresher, because stuff in coding changes so fast. When I first started, like PHP was the first, like, it was the big dynamic. I mean, there's other stuff, but that was what was blowing up right then. So I started with PHP. I still do a lot of PHP back-end stuff. But these days, like, there's so much front-end stuff, and JavaScript's huge. You can write JavaScript on the back end now. So I see there. I also really like JavaScript. I like that they're focused on making writing it easier and faster and better. Really taking out the headaches of like a lot of the common stuff that you do. So that's what this is. This is partly to help me like get a refresher on JavaScript, because JavaScript's not something that I do it when I need to, and since I know PHP, I can get by, but I need to be more of a functional programmer. I'm used to doing it the old way, setting up a bunch of variables and stuff. It's ugly. All right, so we're gonna take this. Well, let's run it. Okay, so we're gonna take this and we're gonna open it back up in Firefox here. And see if it works, because we had that issue with the other lesson. So let's see here. Functional programming. We're on return a sorted array. Doohickey here. Let's run these tests. Non-mutating sort global array should return 2, 3, 5, 6, 9. We need to use this. Okay, I'm wondering if that would have worked. Let's check to see if that would have worked in this. We need to fix this first. Okay, so it would have worked if we had it right. All right, functional programming. Split a string into an array using the split method. The split method splits a string into an array of strings. It takes an argument for the delimiter, which can be a character to use to break up a string or a regular expression. For example, if the delimiter is a space, you can get an array of words, and if the delimiter is an empty string, you can get an array of each character in the string. Here are two examples that split one string by spaces, then another by digits using a regular expression. So we have the string hello world, and we have our by space. We're taking the string and we're splitting it by spaces, so we get hello and world into two things in our array. So it splits it up into two strings, puts them in our little bucket here. Now our other string, we have how 9R7U2 did today. And we want to split by digits this time, so we take the other string and we split, and we're using a regex to say any digit, so we get how are you today. Whoa, that was loud. Navanos has hosted you with 22 viewers. Holy moly. That's a lot of viewers, man. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That was, I've not heard that noise. That was real loud. How are y'all doing? We're here learning some functional programming on Free Code Camp. Trying to get our JavaScript algorithms and data structures certificate. Since strings are immutable, the split method makes it easier to work with them. Use the split method inside the splitify function to split string into an array of words. Function should return the array. Note that the words are not always separated by spaces, and the array should not contain punctuation. What's up, Navanos? Thank you so much for the host, man. How are you doing today? All right, so we have our splitify function here, and it wants us to use split inside of the function to split the string that we're passed into an array of words. Function should return the array. So we're going to return right off the bat. We have this string, we're going to split on it, and array should not contain punctuation, and array should not, it's not always separated by spaces. So I think it wants us to use a regex here. I think. You're welcome. I'm well. How's the programming going? It's going. It's going pretty well. The stuff isn't too bad. I'm getting a hang of some functional programming. I'm an imperative programmer, I guess you would call it. So I'm just trying to learn the new style, you know, get better at JavaScript. All right, man. Enjoy your shower. Vano says followed. Thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. So let's look up JavaScript, regex, and just look at the docs here. So I'm looking for these here. So this might be the one. See how this works. We want to console log this just to see what the output is like. Hello world, I am code. So yeah, that's exactly what we want, I think. So that's pretty nifty. We can pass this regex here. And if we go and look here, the uppercase W matches any non-word character. It's equivalent to the regex, not A through Z, uppercase or lowercase or 0 through 9 or any underscore. So it will match anything that is not these types of items. So that matches our space, our exclamation, our dash, and our comma. Oh, there was no exclamation mark. So that should do it. All right. Combine an array into a string using the join method. The join method is used to join the elements of an array together to create a string. It takes an argument for the delimiter that is used to separate the array elements in the string. Here's an example. We have an array, hello, comma, world. So this is the reverse example of the last one. And we're taking it and putting it into creating a string, and we're joining the elements of the array with a space. So we get our string is set to hello space world. Use the join method, among others, inside the sentencify function to make a sentence from the words in the string. The function should return a string. Oh, okay. For example, I like Star Wars would be converted to I like Star Wars. For this challenge, do not use the replace method. Okay, so it wants us to take this string, and what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna use the code we used in the last example or in the last lesson there, and we're going to do that first to break it up, and then we're going to rejoin. So that would look like we take the string and we're going to split and we're going to use that regex again, and then we're going to join by a space. So now we console log this out. Our end parentheses there. Oh, we do want to return this. That's why we're not getting anything outputted. May the force be with you. So that is exactly what we are looking for. So we'll get rid of this console log. And we passed. Apply functional programming to convert strings to URL slugs. The last several challenges covered a number of useful array and string methods that follow functional programming principles. We've also learned about reduce, which is a powerful method used to reduce problems to simpler forms. From computing averages to sorting, any array operation can be achieved by applying it. Recall the map and filter are special cases of reduce. Let's combine what we've learned to solve a practical problem. Many content management sites have the titles of a post added to part of the URL for simple bookmarking purposes. For example, if you write a Medium post titled "Stop using reduce," it's likely the URL should have some form of the title string in it, stop using reduce. You may have already noticed this on FreeCodeCamp site. Fill in the URL slug function so it converts a string title and returns the hyphenated version of the URL for the URL. You can use any of the methods covered in this section and don't use replace. Here are the requirements. The input is a string with spaces and title cased words. The output is a string with spaces between words replaced by a hyphen. The output should be all lowercase letters. The output should not have any spaces. All right, so we have our title here. Well, first off, we want to return. And if we return the title, it will be exactly like it is. So let's go down here. Let's console log out winter coming. Just to see our progress as we go. So we've lowercased everything, and now we want to split. This is just like the last, so that gives us winter comma is coming. That puts everything in an array, and then we're just gonna join them again. And this time we're gonna join with a dash. So this works. I'm not sure that the other examples they give us work, but we'll see once we... Okay. So let's log out this part of it here. We want to log out this so that we can see each example. Let's run these tests. We have winter is coming, winter is coming. This has 2 spaces. Okay. So the lowercase part is fine. We need to the split, maybe we change the split, instead of being hard coded to just a space, we can do a regex. Let's see how that works with our tests. So we're still where we were before, so that's good. So let's look at the regular expressions. We want to match 1 or more. So I think we can use plus. Maybe that goes right here. Let's run these tests again, see. So that fixed this example where we had multiple spaces. So the only thing that we have to fix now is the space at the beginning. So I'm gonna move this here. For a second, we're gonna run our tests. We're gonna get rid of this join real quick. I just want to see. So yeah, we have an empty. So it's this one right here. We could filter. And we're filtering over all the titles, and we want it to return only so that does it right there. All right, so let's look over all this. We'll clean this up. So we're returning. We're taking the title that it's being passed. We're starting with "The Winter is Coming." We're lowercasing it. We're lowercasing everything in the string. Then we're splitting the string into an array by any non-word character, I believe that's called. Let's look it up. I just want to be right here. Matches any non-word character, capital W. And then we have the plus, so that it searches for any one or more. That gets rid of the errors with the multiple spaces here. And then our last issue was the space at the beginning. So we just filtered, and if there's no, we filtered and we only return titles that exist. I know this is kind of confusing right here because it's shorthand, but this is just basically, it's filtering over this array that we've created. And this isn't really title, it's word. So we're filtering over the words in the title, and we're only returning, we're returning the word here. So when it's a string, when it's an empty string, that returns this, that's false. It's a falsy value. So it gets rid of the array with the empty value. And then finally, we join everything with a dash. So that should do it. Sophie Vex in the house. Yo, how's your day going? My day's going pretty great. I'm sleepy though. We're almost done here. I use the every method to check that every element in an array meets a criteria. The every method works with arrays to check if every element passes a particular test. It returns a Boolean value, true if all values meet the criteria, false if not. For example, the following code would check if every element in the numbers array is less than 10. It's going good. It's good to hear. What are you up to today? Just the usual. So in our example here, we have an array of numbers, 1, 5, 8, 0, 10, and 11. And then for we take numbers, and for every one of them, we're gonna look at the current value, and we're gonna return only if the current value is less than 10. So basically what this bit here is, it's looking at this array, and this will return true if every number in here is less than 10, but we have 11 here, so it fails. Was doing some quests on WoW. Are you not working today? Or are you breaking for lunch? Use the every method inside the check positive function to check if every element in an array is positive. The function should return a Boolean value. So we really just return the array, and then we're gonna do every, and we're gonna do the shorthand. So we're looking at the number, and we're gonna return. We don't need these parentheses because there's only one perimeter. Make this as short as possible. So for every thing in the array, every number in the array, we're gonna return if every element in the array is positive. So we'll return if the number is greater than 0. Tending to sick child. She can't fend for herself. Yeah, I used to skip school when I was real young, just so I could stay home by myself. Called my mom, she was working. I'd be like, "Oh, I missed the bus," and then I'd have some thing that I did because I was doing wrong and I knew it. So I'd be like, "Oh, I cleaned the house. Can I just make some food and play games?" My mom would be like, "Well, yeah, I guess," because she was at work. Too weak. You need to send her to live with the wolves. What is Free Code Camp? Free Code Camp is a website that you can go to learn how to code. So they have this curriculum here, and it starts with responsive web design. You get certifications. So you can learn, and you start with HTML, CSS, different design things. You do these projects and you get certifications. So each lesson has some information and some code, and you have to fix the code and run some tests on it. And then run the test and see if it passes. And then when you're done, you get your cert. All right, use the sum method to check that any elements in an array meet a criteria. The sum method works with arrays to check if any elements passes a particular test. Returns a Boolean value, true if any of the values meet the criteria, false if not. For example, the following code would check if any element in the numbers array is less than 10. So are some of these numbers less than 10? One of them is this one, so we get true. Use the sum method inside the check positive function to check if any element in array is positive. The function should return a Boolean value. So we're gonna return again. We got our array. We're gonna use sum. We're gonna look at the current number, and we're returning if that number is if some of them are greater than 0 or positive. So we run that. It's good to go. Functional programming, introduction to currying and partial application. What? The arity of a function is the number of arguments it requires. I did not know that. Where currying a function means to convert a function of n arity to n functions of arity 1. In other words, it restructures a function so it takes one argument, then returns another function that takes the next argument, and so on. Here's an example. This is some new stuff for me. So uncurried example here, we have our function uncurried x, y. It takes 2 arguments, so that means it's uncurried and returns x plus y. Our curried version here, okay, function curried accepts x and then returns function y, return x plus y. So we pass the parameters like this. This is useful in your program if you can't supply all the arguments to a function at one time. You can save each function call into a variable which will hold the return function reference that takes the next argument when it's available. Here's an example using the curried function in the example above. Call a curried function in parts. Var function for y equals curried 1. Okay, I see. So it's just kind of like pulling the function back out. So because this returns a function, so then we can just use it. All right. Similarly, partial application can be described as applying a few arguments to a function at a time and returning another function that is applied to more arguments. Here's an example. We have an impartial function. It has x, y, and z and returns x, y, and z. What? Then we have our partial function equals impartial, and we're binding. Okay, we're binding. I see. When we use bind, I think it passes. Allows you to pass. Okay, I see. So, all right. So this function takes 3 arguments. We only have 2 right now. So right now what we can do is we can use this partial function to kind of, it's like a, I don't know how, like a proxy. Not sure what you would officially call that. Fill in the body of the add function so it uses currying to add parameters x, y, and z. So let's see here. Return does this work? I don't know if what I'm doing is working right now, but we're just kind of experimenting because I'm a noob. Nothing's blowing up. So let's log this out and see what we get.
What are you afraid of?
so it's returning this right here. Let's get rid of all this. So we add X. Okay, so that works. So we have well, let's see if that works. It does work. All right. I want to look at their get hints to see how they. Oh, there is no hint. Okay. That's fine. All right, run the tests. Let's submit and go to the next. Oh, that was it. This is a stub introduction. Ooh. All right. All right. That calls it. We've finished up functional programming today for Free Code Camp. We've done all these lessons. We have intermediate algorithm scripting for tomorrow, and then we'll start doing some projects. Should be pretty fun. Oh no, video game music. No, you didn't. Oh, worst. Well, I'm out of here. It's already 4:27. We've been on live 3.5 hours today. It's been a really good stream. I want to thank Crazy Gamer Girl 970, Maddie Plays, Salt and Petty for the follows. Also, I want to thank Navanos for the follow and the big, huge host of 22 viewers. It was incredible. Thank you so much. I want to thank Sophie Vex for showing up like always, bringing the hype. And that's it. Rating Craziness, you were here too. Thank you as well. Yes, we got a big host. I will be back later tonight, 8 p.m. EST, for some Clash Royale, if you like games and Clash Royale. Or I'll be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. EST in the afternoon for some more Free Code Camp. We'll be going over intermediate algorithm scripting and having just a good old time. Hope to see you there. Later.